Today we will explore one of the most vivid and profound representations of the soul's fate after death, the particular judgment as mystically witnessed by St. Brigid of Sweden. This remarkable mystic, a central figure in the history of the Catholic Church, recorded in her celestial revelations, specifically in the 7th chapter of the 4th book, an extraordinary vision that unveils a divine tribunal. In this celestial scene, Christ manifests as the supreme judge, while Satan assumes the role of the relentless accuser, and the Virgin Mary intervenes as the defender of the soul, subjected to judgment. The symbolic force and intensity with which this revelation addresses the mystery of the afterlife have established it as one of St. Brigid's most celebrated and debated visions, offering an impactful glimpse into the dynamics between divine justice and mercy. According to St. Brigid's account, immersed in prayer, she was spiritually transported to a majestic celestial palace populated by a multitude of angels and saints clad in white garments. At the center of this glorious setting, seated on the judgment throne, was Christ, whose luminosity resembled that of the sun, radiating intense beams of light. Beside him, the Virgin Mary was presented as a young woman of regal beauty, crowned, while the entire celestial court sang hymns of praise to the resplendent Christ. Suddenly, a dark presence erupts onto the scene. The devil, overflowing with fury, stands before the judge and vehemently cries out for the soul's condemnation, demanding the right to punish it for its sins, claiming that little time of life remained for it. In contrast, an angel, described as a noble, humble, and armed knight, presents himself to defend the soul, exposing the good works it performed during life and interceding for its salvation. However, the judge's voice is heard, declaring that the soul's vices outweighed its virtues, making its union with the supreme virtue unjust, indicating that, at that moment, heaven was not accessible to it. The demonic accuser, without delay, takes advantage of the judge's declaration, arguing that if vices predominate, the soul should be handed over to him, the very embodiment of evil. Reinforcing his position with scriptural citations, Satan accuses the soul of not having loved God above all things, acting more out of fear than genuine love, and of having made confessions with insufficient contrition. His conclusion is categorical. The soul did not deserve heaven, and therefore must be condemned to hell. From the strict perspective of divine justice, the soul seemed lost, lacking perfect contrition and true charity, essential elements for salvation. Faced with this severe accusation, the defending angel does not give up and appeals to divine mercy. He recalls that God's compassion accompanies every individual until their last breath. As long as there is life, there is a chance for repentance. He emphasizes that the soul, still united to the body, possesses the capacity to choose good, having time, however scarce, to seek forgiveness through sincere repentance. However, the devil does not yield, retorting that no human good work equates to the value of true contrition, the kind that springs from love for God, not fear. He asserts that, according to eternal justice, no one enters heaven without this perfect contrition, and that God, being supremely just, cannot contradict his own established order. He concludes his argument by reiterating that the soul must be sentenced to hell and joined with him for eternal punishment. At this point, the defending angel falls silent, his arguments exhausted, and for a moment, the situation seems irremediable, with the soul defenseless and apparently condemned. At the climax of this dramatic vision, when condemnation seemed inevitable, a surprising turnaround occurs. A choir of innumerable demons emerges like sparks of fire, corroborating the accusations and extolling God's inflexible justice. They go so far as to declare that divine justice is so absolute that not even the Virgin Mary, exempt from sin, would escape condemnation if she committed a mortal sin and died without contrition, a hyperbole to underscore divine impartiality, the fires. Demons then advance in unison, clamoring for the immediate surrender of the soul so they could punish it according to its works. At this moment of maximum tension, a powerful sound like the blast of a trumpet resonates, followed by a voice of unquestionable authority. Silence. Hear what the Mother of God says. It is then that the Virgin Mary herself appears before her Son's throne, assuming the role of advocate for the afflicted soul, carrying something hidden under her mantle. Turning to the demons, she rebukes them firmly, accusing them of persecuting mercy and proclaiming a justice devoid of charity. Mary admits that, considering only the soul's works, it indeed would not deserve heaven, acknowledging its lack of personal merits, but warns that there are still elements to be considered in its favor. With a decisive gesture, Mary opens the folds of her mantle, revealing on one side a small church where monks prayed fervently, and on the other, a group of men and women, friends of God, crying out in unison, "Lord, have mercy on him." These were the prayers of the faithful and the religious, interceding intensely for the soul of that sinner. The Virgin then speaks, reminding them that if faith can move mountains, how much more could the prayers of those who served God with true love achieve? She points out that the friends of God, the pious people to whom the dying person had turned, seeking prayers, were now interceding vigorously for him. Each tear, each sincere supplication, possessed the strength to lift that soul, helping it to obtain from God the grace of contrition before the final moment. Mary questions rhetorically whether the prayers of these just ones could not touch the soul's heart and lead it to genuine repentance, and without waiting for an answer, affirms that she will unite her own petitions with those of the saints in heaven, especially those whom the man had venerated in life. A moment of profound mercy unfolds, where divine justice meets the maternal love that intercedes with tenderness, not abandoning even the one who seemed irremediably lost. After her intervention, Mary turns again to the demons and declares with authority, "In the name of the judge, pay heed to what now appears in his justice." With no alternative, the demons, disgruntled but unable to contest, acknowledge the power of the Virgin's pleas. Reluctantly admitting, they compare the tears of contrition to drops of water extinguishing a flame. Even small, they are sufficient to appease divine wrath and open the way for mercy. Finally, the judge, Christ, pronounces the definitive sentence. Through the supplications of his friends, the soul will receive the grace of contrition before death, and therefore will not be cast into hell. However, it must undergo a process of purification in purgatory, among those who suffer the most severe torments. Only after this purification will it be rewarded in heaven, joining those who demonstrated faith and hope, but whose charity in life was insufficient. Thus the soul is saved from eternal damnation by mercy, achieved through the intercessory prayers that secured its final repentance, but it will face a rigorous purgatory before reaching paradise. With the sentence delivered, the demons, frustrated and defeated, retreat without uttering another word. Immediately afterward, St. Brigid has a terrifying vision of the soul's state after death, a colossal furnace fueled by flames that seemed alive, pulsating with the cries of the damned, kept burning by the demons and the tormented souls themselves. She sees the soul in question trapped at the edge of this furnace, suspended by its feet near the burning brazier, neither completely submerged nor entirely free from pain. A devastating image portraying the acute suffering of souls in severe purification, possibly in the region of purgatory closest to hell. Amidst such suffering, St. Brigid clearly hears the anguished voice of the soul, uttering 5 poignant laments. "Woe is me, for I loved God so little, despite receiving so many graces. Woe is me, for I did not fear his justice as I should. Have woe is me, for I let myself be carried away by carnal pleasures. Woe is me for clinging to riches and pride, and woe is me for having known Louis and Joan." These last words, mentioning specific names, suggest the recognition of the negative influence of bad companions who led it astray from the right path. This, therefore, was St. Brigid's vision of the particular judgment, an intense portrayal of the interaction between divine justice and mercy, where every moment of life, down to the last second, can be decisive for the eternal destiny. Thank you for watching this video. Leave your like and subscribe to the Living Hope channel on YouTube. Activate notifications by clicking on the bell to receive other publications.